Hey guys, ARMANDGUN here. Today, your gun-ucation professional. Let's learn you some fun stuff. This will be Battle Rifles of the World, Volume 1. I already have 2 and 3 in mind, so it's gonna be a good time. Buckle up, stick around. This is new, by the way. We've got flannel storage. All my Dixons out on display. Also, they were taking over my office, well, they already took over my closet and the fact that it was spilled over into my office. So now we have some nice dedicated storage up there. Super stoked. And I just realized that corner is looking a bit bare, and that's because what usually is there is hiding in here, the AWSM. This is the deployment case, and I did actually do a short on this about a week ago. If you want to learn about that, you can check that out. Actually, one of my most asked questions is, what's in the box? What's that box by the safe? Green box. Tell us what's in the box, etc., etc. So there you go. All right, much better. Anyways, guys, buckle in. Yes, that is an RPG-7. And stay tuned for today's first of 3 battle rifles from the Cold War era. These guys are all very uncommon. So for this video, what we're going to do is we're going to go through each one of them individually. I'll compare against the 5.56 or little brother version of each one. Then I'll compare them side by side, kind of showing you the differences in controls. Then I'll let you know what my favorite was. Feast your eyes on the Big Boss Energy AK, otherwise known as the Galil in 7.62 NATO. I'm personally in love with this thing. I've loved the Galil for ages. I would, in fact, take a Galil over an... Dare I say it? Maybe we'll do a video on it later. Now, by about this time, I should have at least 5 comments from Call of Duty fanboys that are saying, oh, we saw this in Call of Duty. We knew about the Galil. The Galil's not new. At least that's what they did in the short that I did, where I specifically said, here are 3 battle rifles you've never heard of. So again, in my title, I've refrained from doing that this time, but the Galil, you guys remember from Call of Duty, was not this one. In fact, it was this one, which I dare say is one of the sexiest rifles of all friggin' time. And yes, it has the bottle opener. But there is an important distinction, and that is that this guy is in 5.56. That's this guy right here, 5.56, versus the first one I showed you in 308, 7.62 NATO. That's very much so like an AR-15 versus an AR-10, which we'll get to soon as well. Then there's the Galatz, which is the DMR/sniper version. Again, don't worry about the sniper referring to the rifle. Yes, I know it's a semi-automatic, precision-oriented rifle, but sniper doesn't refer to the rifle itself. Sniper refers to the role of the dude in the military who carries out sniping. And the sniper rifle is whatever rifle that individual chooses to fulfill their role. Much like a DMR is used by a designated marksman. Anyways, those are stupid rare and quite heavy. I will do more content on the Galil once the rest of my Galil models arrive. Suffice it to say, this is a beautiful unit. Very nice shooter, super satisfying action. Has the iconic waffle pattern magazines. These are reinforcing ribs, by the way. Otherwise, all the controls are identical to any other Galil. This one is just slightly longer receiver, slightly longer barrel, and there you have it. These were not widely used or adopted by militaries in the Cold War era. Even the Israelis themselves, while they made them, it was made by IMI, Israeli Military Industries, they did not adopt them. These are most common in South and Central America. Places like Colombia and Guatemala, which used the Galil in 5.56 as well, they probably saw the most widespread use of the 7.62s. We'll hop into our second gun real quick, but first, our 15-second sponsor, Mira Safety, the company bringing the gas mask into the 21st century, guys. They support the channel. I got an affiliate link below, so check them out. Get yourself some survival gear that could be very relevant. You never know, so go for it, and you'll thank yourself. All right, guys, next up we have the SG542. This was made by SIG back in Switzerland. And once again, I bet this is something you are probably not very familiar with. Well, you are and you aren't. This looks strikingly like the SIG 550s. Namely, this sexy little devil. This is the SIG 553, aka Commando. And I freaking love this little guy. What a cutie. But this is not the guy we're talking about today. Dang, that's a nice trigger. We are talking about its father. Anyways, this thing is fantastic. So we are clear, same thing, just bigger. 7.62 NATO, bigger. Same controls, the 542 resulted in the fallout of a failed project after a breakup between SIG and Beretta that had went together to develop their own 5.56 chambered battle rifle. Something to compete with the AR-15s of the day, basically because Colt wouldn't license anybody else to make the design and sell it. Colt wanted all those sales themselves. So Beretta and SIG teamed up to do something. Ultimately, they broke apart because SIG wanted to go roller locked, Beretta wanted to go short stroke piston. Something, well, a lot like this. What happened, SIG made the 530, which was a roller lock version. Looks kind of like this, but not. And that didn't go very well, so then they, well, came up with this. Meanwhile, Beretta did the AR-70, which is basically the Beretta version of this. Fingers crossed I have one of them coming to the channel soon. Anyways, Switzerland at the time had some rough legislation that they wouldn't allow SIG to sell any military firearms to other countries. So instead what they did is they licensed this design to Manurin in France. They made a few, though not very many. Most of their guns I think were civilian models. The design was also licensed to FAMEA in Chile, which is pretty cool because check this out. I just happen to have one. This one's all painted up in tan, looks pretty darn good. But yeah, very nice gun. Fuzzy. Basically the same thing, though this is a civilian-only version. Still very nice rifle. And again, decently light. The SG542 is actually the lightest gun we're looking at today by almost a pound. And I totally forgot, I could have shown you this instead of the SIG 553, but I forgot I had this. You know you have a lot of guns when? This is the 543. This is the same generation of gun, the 540 series, which is the carbine length version of the 540. The Commando's a 550 series. Anyways, this guy's super cute. Really like it. Beautiful shooter. And threaded barrel, so I threw a war comp on there. Anyways, Chile still makes them to this day. Every once in a while, they send them up to Canada for the civilian gun owners up here. But they're pretty cool, and they've done a few different modernizations in terms of furniture and whatnot. These are nice handy guns, and they are basically Swiss AKs inside, which is pretty cool. That will finish off with this rifle and get to our last of this video. This is the Portuguese contract, or also later NATO contract, AR-10, but it was made by the Dutch in the Netherlands, aka Holland. Artillery Inrichtingen is the manufacturer. They started off with a different version, not this one, more like this version, which is actually the lightest gun we're looking at today. This is very nice and light. Basically, as long as AI was making guns, they were constantly doing little improvements, but there were some more major improvements at times, and the Sudanese one was, well, one of them. There's also a transitional model, which I believe is what's considered the Cuban gun. Fun fact, Cuba got these things before Uncle Sam in USA. But then they went full commie and, well, no more for them. Anyways, I'll do a separate video on these guns at some point, going through more of the changes. Ian from Forgotten Weapons has done some videos on these as well in their development with my friend Richard the Real Deal Movie Arms personal collection, so I would check those out if you want. They are very nice. Not the best trigger. Freedom chocolate. Neat mags, and that's the early design. Again, by contrast, this design right here has a lot more going on, and, well, she gained a couple pounds along the way. She thick. Though this is remarkably more durable. There's improvements to the bolt inside. The furniture is much more durable. We got an actual nice little heat guard on here as well. The bayonet lug flipped to the top, and we've got a nice spigoted grenade launching muzzle device here. There's also a little clip right here that you can attach grenade sights for. And there's an adjustable gas block right here where you can also turn off the gas, which is nice when you're launching rifle grenades. The charging handle also underwent a small change. It's now locked out, and it's telescopic within itself, so it doesn't actually stick out the rear of the receiver like the other one does. Push down to unlock, pull her back. What a beauty. Updated bolt catch and release as well, with a little more meat to it. And a much nicer trigger. You can compare that against the Colt SP1. This is a civilian model, but it is very, very nice. M16A1 pattern. Nice and light as well. Very handy rifle. We're clear. Different mags, as you can see. They did change that pretty quickly. But these came around a little bit later. Got their triangle handguards now. The charging handle out of the carry handle. It's back here now. The classic T handle. And this is then what America used when they went into Vietnam. As for the AR-10s, well, them Yanks decided to go with the M14, which was a terrible choice. The AR-10 kicked the bucket for a couple decades until it was resurrected by the OG, Eugene Stoner, who was then working for Knight's Armament Co., who to this day makes one of the best AR systems around. All right, guys, so in order, we'll start with the Galil. No last round bolt hold, but this does have ambi charging, which is pretty nice. The SIG 542 does have a last round bolt hold, but right side only, or lefty charging. And the AR, it is ambi, but it's probably the least nice. Kind of gotta get your index finger in there. Not the biggest fan of that. Now I'll demonstrate reloads. This is a dummy 308, so there's no primer, there's no powder. Nice double stack, double feed magazine. Basically just your traditional AR style controls. Insert the mag, it locks. Bolt release right here. That's gonna chamber round. Safety selector. It's already on semi actually. That's safe. That's semi. A little different than what we're used to now. The SG 542 double stack, double feed. This one goes in like an AK. Insert rock and lock. Paddle mag release. This is safe. This is fire. This is a good time, albeit a little stiff. But basically, rock, lock, bolt release, you're in. Oh, such a light trigger pull. And these are adjustable triggers. Then the Galil mag, this thing feels probably the most substantial. Double stack, double feed. Once again, rock and lock. And again, no last round bolt hold, no manual bolt release either. So just your safety selector over here, which is ambi, which is quite nice. None of the other guns have ambi selectors. Run her back, let her go. So satisfying. And a very nice trigger. Nice long sight radius on the AR-10. Nice adjustable rear right there. The SIG also really nice long sight radius. Nice diopter drum back here with different apertures. And the Galil, again, nice and long. It is the shortest sight radius of these three, but only by about an inch. We have a 300 meter and a 500 meter aperture. You flip them halfway, and you flip up the night sights, which currently don't have any tritium in them, but it is an option. Otherwise, there's your little hooded front sight. Hole drilled up top to let more light in. Next, let's take a comparative look at the trio here so you can see them all side by side. So, a couple differences. The Galil and the SIG both have the ability to fold. And that's nice because all these rifles are featuring 20 or so inch barrels, and the ability to fold for travel or stow and go is nice. They can both fire while folded as well. Now, of course, the AR-10 has that buffer system in the stock, which makes it pretty pleasant to shoot, but you cannot fold. They all feature 20 round capacity, except for the Galil, which has 25 rounders. The controls are a little bit of a mixed bag. While the Galil is the closest to actually having true ambi controls, it doesn't have a manual bolt release, whereas both the AR-10 and the SIG SG542 do. As another point of contrast, each of these guns employs a different of the three main operating systems. The AR-10 is, of course, direct impingement, or internal piston is a kind of a technical name for it. Then we have the long stroke piston in the Galil, same as an AK-47, and then the short stroke in the SIG. That system was pioneered by, I think, the SVT-40. AR-18 popularized it, and you see it today in the G36, the HK-416, the British SA-80, and a bunch of others. Again, the SIG weighs the least. It's about a pound lighter than these other two, and the AR-10 is just marginally heavier than the Galil, just by a couple tenths of a pound. That leads me to discuss which one is my favorite. Which one would I pick for myself? Maybe that's not the same answer, but in this case, I think it is. Now, don't get me wrong, I love all these things. I have a lot of respect for the SIG. I love the original AR-10. The thing is beautiful, and that is an absolute tank of a gun as well. And the Galil, which I would definitely take over an AK, but again, that'll be a separate video. But those of you who stuck with me this long, you know right now that I would take a Galil over an AK. And in fact, I would take a Galil over all of these. The Galil, I think, that's gotta be my pick. Why? Why this gun? Well, I do love the ambi safety. That thing is friggin' awesome. This has the ability to take a mounted optic. Actually, all of them do, except for the AR-10. The AR-10 had a special version. That is not one of them, but some of them did have special carry handles that did take optic mounts. Anyways, I love this thing. It's very handy, it's very pointable, the highest capacity. It does also have shorty, like a little 11-rounder mags as well. Folding buttstock, which is just a freaking tank. Secondary melee weapon, I would dare say. Very comfortable grip. I don't know. I just really dig it. Actually, to be honest, if this was the SAR model with the 16-inch barrel, this guy here is actually the 20 or the 21. With the 16-inch, this thing would be considerably shorter, more handy. Then it would be undeniable. I would absolutely take this guy. Anyways, guys, that's that for this one. We will do a volume 2 and a volume 3 in the future. I've got them both planned out. If you like this style of video, check out my sniper rifles of the world. Again, I'll link those all in the cards, so check those out if you want to watch more. Otherwise, guys, stay tuned. Next week, another fun video for you, and I will see you all then. Arm and Gun, out.
Boom diggity.